America's first infamous terror organization. The group that single-handedly stopped civil rights in its early stages. A paramilitary organization that thrived on fear and intimidation. A group that rose from the ashes of the Civil War and managed to penetrate all levels of American society. The original Night Riders, the Ghosts of the Confederacy, the Circle, are also known as the Klan. Now, full disclaimer, as we start to dive into the history of this group, I am not going to be using their most popular name or the name that we all know them by just because of censorship. And I'm kind of doing an experiment to figure out what I can and cannot get away with. This is a topic I wanted to speak on since I started my channel, and I finally found the motivation to do the research. And I guess in a way, the courage to not be so afraid of, content violations. So I hope you enjoy this mini series on the Invisible Empire. Now let's set the stage for the founding of the Invisible Empire. 1865 would mark the end of the Civil War. And in Appomattox, General Lee would surrender to General Grant. This would mark the beginning of the Reconstruction era for America and the beginning of free blacks in the South, which made up 40% of the population. The Civil War ravaged the South, leaving 1 in 5 of Confederate soldiers dead and many more wounded. The South, which was mainly Democratic at that time, would also face Union Republican occupation, an occupation with many black Union soldiers. Also, many people who fought for the Confederacy would lose their right to vote. And in the following year of 1866, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments would be ratified, officially giving black men the right to vote and giving them equal rights as citizens protected by law. It is during this time that we would see the highest rate of black Republicans becoming state representatives, senators, judges, sheriffs, and essentially running their state governments. It is in this height of racial tension and fear of black rule that would lead to the founding of the Invisible Empire. The original founding members were Frank McCord, Richard Reed, John Lester, John Kennedy, John Calvin Jones, and James Crow. The order would start in Pulaski, Tennessee. In its early days, the group would dress up like ghosts from the Confederacy, mainly just going on night rides and harassing the black people in their area. But quickly, the secrecy of the order would begin to capture the imaginations of their local community, and the idea of a group with the means to keep the black population subjugated would spread like wildfire. The rise of the Invisible Empire. Many scholars believe that the Invisible Empire was officially founded after the Memphis Massacre. The Memphis Massacre would take the lives of 46 blacks, and their schools and homes would be burned down by the local police department and the local fire department. It was directly after that massacre during the month of May that we would see the first night raids take place. Initially, the Invisible Empire saw themselves as community regulators, enforcing a set of state laws known as the Black Codes that would force former slaves to follow a curfew, and in some instances, force them back into labor for their former masters. We would also start to see mentions of the Invisible Empire in their local publication, the Pulaski Citizen, a publication whose editor was a brother of one of the founding members of the Invisible Empire. In those days, they would leave notices for the editor, listing meeting times and recruitment opportunities. By June of 1867, the Invisible Empire had spread all over the state of Tennessee, and during that same year at the Tennessee State Convention, they would form a pact with the local Democrats, a meeting that would transform this group into a paramilitary organization that would spread to all 11 Confederate states by the end of the year. They would make Confederate War General Nathan Bedford Forrest their first Grand Wizard. Nathan Bedford Forrest, who was responsible for the massacre at Fort Pillow, who ordered the murder of over 200 Union soldiers, primarily black soldiers who had surrendered at Fort Pillow. The Invisible Empire would now spread into politics, and would leave that convention in 1867 with 3 new goals. Number 1, do everything they could to stop the black vote and to block blacks from the ability to take in local and state power. Number 2, block the Freedmen's Bureau's efforts to educate the black population. And number 3, use fear, intimidation, and murder in order to keep the black population subdued. And we would see the highest numbers of state-elected black officials in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. And although Nathan Bedford Forrest would claim that he disbanded the group after the elections, the South would see a stark rise in night rider attacks all over the South. They would go after any blacks that they knew for a fact voted for Republicans. They would go after white school teachers who moved down from the North to educate, anyone who helped blacks register to vote, black ministers, any black preacher that spoke out against them, any outspoken black that refused to move from their land, and any white man who dared to stand in their way. Now let's discuss the Invisible Empire structure. As the Invisible Empire grew, it needed more structure and organization. And as Nathan Bedford Forrest traveled, while investing in the railroad, he would leave a trail of Klan dens in his path. Each Klan den was required to have a prescript, which was essentially a copy of the Invisible Empire's constitution. The South would be divided into realms, dominions, and providences. A realm was a state, a dominion a congressional district, and a providence was a county. A grand dragon ran a realm or state, and under him were 8 hydras. A grand titan ran a dominion or congressional district, and under him were 6 furies. A grand giant led each providence or county, and he was assisted by 4 goblins. Each county had several dens, and each den was headed by his own Grand Cyclops. The Grand Cyclops would be aided by 2 Nighthawks, and each den had a second in command, a Grand Magi, and a third in command, a Grand Monk. Each den also had a Grand Scribe, a Secretary, and a Grand Checker, a Treasurer. Women were the backbone of the Invisible Empire. They would cook meals for night raids, come up with alibis for their husbands, and also sew together the costumes. Just like all other secret societies, the Invisible Empire had its own set of codes, hand signals, secret passwords, ways to hide meeting dates and times, and were ordered to lie for one another and to never give up the identity, rights, or rituals of their fellow brothers. Before we discuss the fall of the Invisible Empire, let's clear up a few different things. The first main thing to understand is that there are 3 different iterations of the Invisible Empire. The original Invisible Empire, which is the one that we're talking about right now in this video series. Then there is the one that rose in 1915 after the movie The Birth of a Nation. And if you haven't seen A Birth of a Nation, it is free on YouTube to watch. And I must say, it is brilliant and also probably the most racist piece of content I have ever seen in my life. That iteration rose up after World War I, when a lot of former black soldiers would be coming home with their military training, and we would see stuff like the Elaine Massacre in my home state of Arkansas, the Red Summer that led to race riots all over the country during 1919, and of course probably the most famous massacre, the Tulsa Massacre. That iteration would end after their leader in Illinois was found guilty on charges of abuse and mutilation of a white woman, I might add. Then we get the third iteration that led us into the modern day. That iteration would rise up due to the civil rights movement, and their main focus was to stop integration. They would also commit a lot of atrocities and murders, but as the success of the civil rights movement came about, they quickly started to lose their power base. Now that we have all that cleared up, I will be talking about the fall of the original Invisible Empire. The fall of the Invisible Empire. The fall of the Invisible Empire began in 1871 after the murder of black militia leader Jim Williams. Jim Williams was dragged from his home and hung up on a tree after being whipped and beaten, all because he wanted to protect his community from the Klan. By mid-1871, President Grant's office was getting flooded with accounts of the Invisible Empire's violence. And after the death of a white judge and 7 black witnesses at the hands of the Invisible Empire, in April 1871, Grant would finally sign the first Civil Rights Bill, also known as the Klan Act. This would lead to the suspension of habeas corpus, allowing the federal government to arrest any suspected member of the Invisible Empire without proof. The bill also made it illegal for groups to conspire together to wear costumes to intimidate, and it made it illegal to impede on anyone's rights or in the federal government's power to protect someone's rights. Grant would also order secret agents to infiltrate the Invisible Empire. By the end of 1871, tens of thousands of the Invisible Empire's members were arrested. Out of that number, only 3,319 would be put to trial, and out of that number, only 1,133 would actually be convicted and forced to pay small fines and light or suspended sentences. By 1876, all members of the Invisible Empire that were convicted were released, and violence in the South would pick up once again. Some historians believe that Grant did a great job at disbanding this secret society, while others believe that it just swept it under the rug and led to the creation of other racist groups like rifle clubs, the White League, the White Caps, and the Red Shirts. Congress wouldn't see another black senator for over 85 years, and of course we know of the Jim Crow laws and the following civil rights movement. Per usual, while making videos like this, I'm always surprised at how the truth is way stranger than fiction. If you like this series and you would like for me to research another topic, please let me know in the comments. Alright, now that I covered all the documented facts about the Invisible Empire, I want to give my own personal opinion. First off, I don't believe 6 random, even though well-educated, ex-Confederates just came together, drinking one night, trading war stories, and say, hey boys, let's get ourselves up a club. Seems to me that they were very well organized from the start. Everything from the rites, rituals of initiation, to the secrecy, to the name, which one of the so-called founders stated that if it wasn't for the secrecy and the name and just the public intrigue, they would have never have grown as much as they did. In my personal opinion, Albert Pike, Nathan Bedford Forrest, and other prominent members of that old Knights of the Golden Circle came together and came up with a plan that just in case the war fell through, they could still keep power. Pike being the only Confederate war general to have his statue in Washington, D.C. for one, because of his dealings with Freemasonry, the man who rewrote all the rites and rituals for Scottish Rite Freemasonry, and who also wrote all the rites and rituals for the Knights of the Golden Circle, only makes sense that he would write the rites and rituals for the Invisible Empire. The rites of initiation, the secret signs and handshakes, the lying on the stand to protect one's brother, to never giving up one brother, or the secrets or the codes, the all unaffiliated people are lawful prey, all are nearly identical to every secret society I have covered on this channel. Even the infiltration into every social structure of our society. To me, the saddest thing is that black people at that time in the South made up 40% of the population. And I cannot express enough the number of atrocities, murders, and how many people were killed. There were so many stories of hundreds dead here, 10 dead here, 5 dead here, 30 dead here, 20 dead here, that it was simply just overwhelming. Anywho, I'm gonna move on to the next subject. Y'all tell me what y'all think about where the Invisible Empire really started, and I'm up for any ideas for my next video.